Welcome back to This Day in Scottish History. I'm your host Colin MacDonald, and today we're diving into the story of one of Edinburgh's most notorious figures. On this day, October 1st, 1788, William Brodie, better known as Deacon Brodie, was hanged at the Old Tolbooth in Edinburgh before a crowd of 40,000 people. But who was this man, and why did his downfall capture the public's imagination so vividly? William Brodie was born into respectability on September 28, 1741. His father, Francis Brodie, was Convenor of Trades in Edinburgh, a position of great authority. William followed in his father's footsteps, becoming the Deacon of the Incorporation of Wrights and Masons in 1781, a prestigious post that oversaw the city's cabinetmakers. As a member of Edinburgh's town council, he was well respected, mingling with figures like the poet Robert Burns and artist Henry Raeburn. But there was much more to Brodie's life than his public persona. By day, he was a reputable craftsman and politician, but by night, Brodie was a criminal. His secret life as a burglar began with his intimate knowledge of locks and keys, acquired through his work as a cabinet maker. He started using his skills to copy keys, gaining access to the homes and businesses of Edinburgh's elite, and funding his extravagant lifestyle, which included a gambling habit and 2 secret families. Brodie's double life is thought to have started as early as 1768, when he made a duplicate key to a bank and stole 800, enough to live comfortably for years. Over time, as his gambling debts mounted, Brodie expanded his criminal activities. By 1786, he had recruited a gang of thieves: John Brown, a fugitive, George Smith, a locksmith, and Andrew Ainsley, a shoemaker. Together, they committed several high-profile robberies across the city. The gang's most daring and disastrous heist took place on the night of March 5th, 1788, when they attempted to rob the excise office on Edinburgh's Canongate. Using a key Brodie had secretly copied, they entered the building, confident of a large haul. However, their plans were disrupted when an official unexpectedly returned to the office, forcing them to flee with only 16. It was a failure that would spell the end for Brodie. In the aftermath of the botched raid, John Brown turned informant, giving the authorities the names of his fellow gang members in exchange for a royal pardon. He led police to a cache of duplicate keys hidden at the base of Salisbury Crags. Realising the noose was tightening, Brodie fled Edinburgh and made his way to the Netherlands, hoping to evade capture. But his escape was short-lived. After weeks on the run, Brodie was tracked down in Amsterdam, where he was planning to board a ship to the United States. He was arrested and brought back to Edinburgh to face trial. Brodie's trial, alongside his accomplice, George Smith, began on August 27, 1788. The prosecution's case was bolstered by testimony from Brown and Ainsley, who had both turned king's evidence. Further incriminating evidence, including copied keys, disguises and pistols, was found in Brodie's workshop. Despite his protestations of innocence, the jury had little doubt. Brodie and Smith were found guilty of burglary and sentenced to death by hanging. On October 1st, 1788, William Brodie met his fate at the Old Tolbooth, the site of many public executions. His death attracted an enormous crowd, including, tragically, his 10-year-old daughter. Legend has it that Brodie wore a steel collar and attempted to cheat death, bribing the hangman in the hope of being revived later. Whether this is true or not remains a mystery, but it only added to the myth surrounding his life and death. Brodie's story didn't end with his execution. His double life became the inspiration for one of Scotland's most famous literary works. Robert Louis Stevenson, whose family owned furniture made by Brodie, was fascinated by the idea of a man leading two lives. This intrigue would eventually inspire Stevenson to write Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in 1886, a novella that explores the battle between good and evil within the human soul, themes embodied by Brodie's life. Today, Deacon, Brodie is remembered not just for his crimes, but for the lasting mark he left on Scottish culture. His name still echoes through Edinburgh's streets, with the Deacon Brodie Tavern on the Royal Mile and Brodie's Close, where his home and workshop once stood, serving as reminders of his double life. As we reflect on the downfall of Deacon Brodie, his story serves as a cautionary tale of the thin line between respectability and corruption. A man who once stood at the pinnacle of Edinburgh society, brought low by his own greed and vices, and ultimately his crimes. Thank you for joining us on this episode of This Day in Scottish History. I'm Colin MacDonald, and I hope you'll tune in tomorrow for more stories from Scotland's rich and fascinating past. Until then, haste ye back,